If I could have your attention. Good evening. I have the time as 7:30, so I will call the public hearing and regular business meeting of the Mayor and Council for the City of Snellville, Georgia, Monday, July 22nd, 2024 to order. We do have a quorum. We have all members present. We'll start tonight with an invocation to be led by Bobby Howard, former council member.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. If everyone could come to the Lord. Gracious Heavenly Father, we just give you thanks for this day, and we give you thanks for the public servants that serve our city. We give thanks for the community that loves our city. We come here to this meeting tonight as a group of concerned citizens, as city lovers, and we just want the opportunity to talk about what's on our minds and move forward in what is the best and most successful way possible. We do these all under the operation of the presence of the Lord, and we continue to want Him to watch over us, continue to protect us, absolutely want them to watch over our law enforcement community and those first responders that serve our community. But just be a community tonight, have everybody's thoughts taken into account, and just move forward in a orderly fashion and just come out of this as a stronger and better community. It's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Bobby. And now if you'll stand if you're able for the pledge to the flag to be led by Mayor Pro Tem Todd Warner.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, tonight we have no ceremonial matters, so we'll move to the minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of the July 8th, 2024 meetings.
There's a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. Under invited guests, we do have an invited guest tonight. We have the Gwinnett County Department of Transportation Director, Louis Cooksey, and he's here to give us a presentation on the Gwinnett Transit Plan.
Mayor and Council, I want to express my sincere gratitude for giving me the opportunity to come and share with you for a few minutes tonight. Our partnership has been such a successful one over the last several years, and it is greatly appreciated. All of the projects we've been able to work on together have only been as successful as they are because of the partnership that we've had, and we look forward to continuing that success and that partnership. And I do appreciate the time tonight to come and talk to you for a few minutes about our transit plan. I do have a quick 2 slides, one just a little bit about the department, which I think you all are very familiar with this, so I won't dwell on this. You know that the Gwinnett County Department of Transportation, we maintain about 2,700 miles of road across the county. If you stretch that end to end, that would be, you could drive from here to the Pacific Ocean. So that's what we're trying to take care of. And of course, a number of other things, signs, bridges, everything we drive on every day and hopefully don't have to think about. And then also, if I could just bring up a quick point of things that we've been doing recently, is one thing we've been focused on is the resurfacing of our roadways, because it is very important to take care of what we have. We spent right at $230 million just over the past few years, and we're going to spend $80 million this year on resurfacing roadways across the county. So there's a sincere investment being put back into our infrastructure to take care of what we have. But with that, I was invited to talk about the transit plan, so I want to dig into that and not waste any time. As you're all probably aware, just last year, the Board of Commissioners approved a new transit plan for Gwinnett County. And in approving this plan, we did away with the old plans and we started from scratch. We've had referendums, we've had votes on the old plans, and so it was important to us that we start from ground zero and work our way up. And there were 3 goals that really came to light very early on in putting this plan together. One, and it is overarching, it's above every other goal that we have, and that's mobility for all. That we were going to put together a transit plan that provides a service for every resident of Gwinnett County, so that everyone across every inch of Gwinnett County would have an opportunity to use the services if we were able to implement this plan. And then next, we wanted to leverage technology. We've come so far in technology over the past few years. We're all aware of what a computer looked like 20 years ago, and now I have one on my wrist that's more powerful than the big box I had 20 years ago. And so it's time to implement those technological advancements in our transportation system. And that's the second element, foundational element of this transit plan. And then the third element was to improve trip reliability. If we're going to have a service, a transit service that is attractive and people will want to use, then we need to be able to provide that service in a way that the timing of it, the time provisions of the service are attractive. So right now, the service that we're running, it's 50-minute intervals during the week, and it's an hour on Saturdays. And so the plan that you see here, we knew we needed to get those intervals down to something that people could use reliably. And so we were able to bring most of the services down to 15 to 20 minutes and some even to 10 minutes in the plan. But a foundational element of the plan is microtransit. And as you all know, we already have microtransit here in Snellville. And it's been a successful program for us. We thank you for your partnership, your assistance in letting people know, getting the word out about it. And so it's a model that I don't know if you've heard, but other cities across the county want what Snellville has. And so there's a little jealousy, there's a little envy that has developed. And so most places that I go to talk, I don't get to say, hey, this already exists here and it's working well. And so I'm so blessed and honored to be able to stand here and say that here in Snellville, because right here today we could pull out the Ride Gwinnett app and we could get a ride to where we want to go in Snellville. And so and foundational to this plan is that we've created 27 zones across the county. And there will be 27 microtransit zones covering the entire county. No matter where you live, any resident or person in Gwinnett County would have access to microtransit, splitting it up into the communities they want to travel in, though. And there aren't hard lines, and in fact, in a few minutes, I'll show you a map that shows the 27 zones. But when you see that picture and you see those zones, please understand that it's a graphical representation, the best way we can show it on a map. When the lines are not going to be set hard and fast, but there is going to be overlap as is necessary for us to deliver a successful system. But it's really all about delivering community rides, getting around your community, getting you where you want to go on a daily basis. And for some people, that's going to be a ride to the doctor's office or to a hospital. For other people, that's going to be to a job. For our students in after-school programs, whether that's a beta club or a basketball league, when they need to be able to get home after school and the bus is already gone, this provides an opportunity for them to get home. And behind it all, though, is that second element that I talked about, which is technology. And that's that algorithm for us to be able to group riders together, which is what makes transit work to keep cars off the road. And here is that map that I talked about. You can see that the entire county is shaded in. You can see Lawrenceville and Snellville are already in what I'd call a light purple color, and that's because those are the two areas that already have service. And so the mayor and I were able to use microtransit on a little ride just a few months ago, and so far we've had over 10,000 downloads of our app to be able to use microtransit. And you can see a picture here of that app, of the Ride Gwinnett app. And so you can get anywhere within the zone. That's how microtransit is set up. It's a door-to-door service. You can go from here to the avenues, do a little shopping, maybe go over there to Chili's or have a bite to eat. And so you all, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir and telling you about what microtransit is. So I'm going to move on from here, but in so many places I go, I do have to explain it from scratch. So I'm very thankful for what we have. And next, the elements in the transit plan, we have what we call the county ride service. Now, last year we did start a new county ride service here. That it's a fixed bus route that goes down Highway 78, also covers the Amazon facility at Stone Mountain, and then ties into the Indian Creek MARTA station. And so we do have that route up and running, but there is something different about it in our transit plan, and that is the implementation of technology that will enhance this route. So we're installing what we call connected vehicle technology into all of our traffic signals across the county. And what this does for transit is it allows our vehicle to communicate with the traffic signals and back and forth. And so if that transit vehicle is behind schedule, then it can let the signals know, I'm behind schedule and I need a little help. And then our traffic signal network will be able to provide assistance to help it catch back up on its route. Also, in the transit plan, we have what is known as the quick ride service. It's the same vehicles as we use in the county ride service, but here we put an additional enhancement into the routes where we build queue jumper lanes at our intersections. And that allows the vehicle to get around traffic, get into a separate lane at the intersection, and then when at that intersection, it is going to receive a green light ahead of the traffic, and therefore it's going to get to take off, get ahead of the traffic in moving forward. And it's all about showing that if we can group riders together, we'll be able to get to places faster. And as we all know, we have traffic on our roadways. We're a growing community. Every growing community has traffic on their roadways. And so this is an element that allows us a tool in the toolbox in dealing with traffic congestion and being able to move people and save room on the roadways. Because if you think about it, a typical vehicle is roughly 20 feet long. If you put 40 vehicles in line, that's 800 feet. Well, that same 40 people we could put onto a bus and we'd be about 45 feet long instead of 800 feet long. So it's all about saving room on the roadways. And then another element of the transit plan, and we're not operating this yet, and so we would need funding to be able to start this, but it's the airport ride, and it is of great interest to everyone I talk to. I'm planning to go on a trip next weekend, and my wife and I were just talking last night of how we'd love to have the airport ride in place right now. We'd love to be able to park our car near home or take a microtransit ride over to a connection to get a ride to the airport. In preparing this plan, one thing we discovered is that over 10,000 people a day travel from Gwinnett County down to Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. So it's something that we expect to be very popular, and again, it's based on technology. It's very similar to the microtransit app where you will be able to go in and book your ride, You can put in information about when you need to get to the airport, and that will allow us to group riders together. And that's really the way this service is going to be set up. Instead of having a fixed time where it leaves here every hour, you'll book your ride on the app, see when your leaving time is, and that again, is the force multiplier that technology is for us in making this transit system work. And so there are 2 airport ride routes in this plan. One is down along 85, and then the other is from Snellville along 78 to head to the airport. And so here is the proposed service diagram for the plan. You can see that there are routes all over the county. The thing, of course, not to be forgotten is that we have microtransit underlying it all, so that you could take microtransit over to a fixed route, never having to get in your car if you did not choose to do so. We have a combination of county rides, quick rides, rapid rides, the airport ride. So there's a variety of services included in this plan. And it's all about getting people to the right places at the right time in the right way to get there. And so why would we do this? What are our motivators behind this plan? One is access to health care. 100% of healthcare facilities are covered in this plan, that you can use transit to get to any healthcare facility or doctor's office in the county. That of course includes our nearby friends at Piedmont Healthcare. Also, connections to education. We have Georgia Gwinnett College, we have our Gwinnett County Public Schools. We were at the orientation for the incoming class of Georgia Gwinnett College just a few weeks ago, as parents and students were coming in to learn about the new school year. And parents coming in, they were wondering, how does my student living in a dorm, how are they going to get to the grocery store? How are they going to get to shopping? How are they going to get what they need if they don't have a vehicle? And they saw that this plan is an answer for them, and specifically for where we were with Georgia Gwinnett College, microtransit in Lawrenceville is an answer for them. And then, of course, the entertainment, whether you are headed to a play or a ball game or a volleyball game or a park. I count one of our 50 county parks. Every park is covered in this transit plan. And then, of course, I've talked a good bit this evening about how these are options to congestion. And this is thinking about the county this year, next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 30 years from now. As we grow, how are we going to manage traffic? And we've got to have a plan for that, and this is a plan for doing that. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the council for Mr. Cooksey?
Mr. Cooksey, what's the cost of the ride?
Yes. The
Microtransit, yeah.
microtransit costs $3 a ride. So you can book your ride, and for $3 you can get to anywhere within the zone.
And so if I go to Target and I'm in there 15 minutes and I come back out, is it another $3 to get back home?
Actually, no. If you come back on the same ride within 90 minutes, then we'll bring you back for free.
So my neighbor who lost his driver's license and doesn't have insurance on his car, this would be a good option for him?
This would be a great option for him. And I've heard people tell me, I used this for just a day because my car was in the shop. And then about 6 weeks ago, I was at an event, and a mother came up to me, and she told me that her daughter and son-in-law had graduated from college, didn't have a car, and they actually moved to Hewitt Road. And they said they have jobs, but they didn't have a way to get there until they found out about microtransit. And so she was almost in tears, and I was almost that way too. And it's why we do what we do, is why we're trying to provide mobility options, is just to try to get people to where they need to go.
Anyone else? Thank you, Louis, for taking your time in the evening to come out and share this information with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We have no committee or department reports, so we'll move to the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve tonight's agenda as published, July 22nd, 2024.
There's a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second?
I'll get Todd on that one. There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. Now we will move to our public hearing, and there is an announcement I would like to read. As soon as I find it. That's not it. This is a public hearing, and we do have several zonings that I'm sure that a lot of you are here and interested in. In order to help everyone have an equal opportunity to be heard and minimize distractions, I ask the audience to please silence or turn off any electronic communication devices. I would like to remind everyone present that this is an official public meeting at which important business is conducted, and it is a legal process. The city attorney has advised the council that audience outbursts, including applause, have been used by the courts to overturn zoning decisions. Therefore, I ask that you refrain from applause and all other extraneous remarks. Each side will be allowed a total of 15 minutes for support and 15 minutes in opposition to each of the zonings that will come before us. This is not 15 minutes per person, but it's a total. So you may wish to consider coordinating your arguments beforehand or consider having a spokesperson to present your position. If council members ask questions of you, it will not be deducted from your time. Should you have the opportunity to come to the microphone to make a comment in support or in opposition to any of the requests before us, please state your name and address for the public record before beginning. Also, you will be given only one opportunity to come forward to speak. Please also direct all of your comments to myself and the council and not to the applicant or another speaker. If you came to the Planning Commission meeting, then you kind of know the way the public hearing will go. First, our Planning Director, Jason Thompson, will give an overview of the project. Council members may ask some questions or ask for some clarification. Then the applicant will come forward and present their project. The council members may ask questions of the applicant. And then once the applicant has finished their presentation, then we will open the floor to public comment. That's where we will have 15 minutes for anyone speaking in opposition and 15 minutes for anyone speaking for the project. After the public hearing is done, either we've exceeded our 15 minutes or there's no one else that wishes to speak, then we will close the public comment. Then council will go in and make a motion, and then there may be further discussion of the council. One other item as well, I think some people were encouraged to sign up on a sign-up sheet in the back. The sign-up sheet in the back, if you would like to make public comment, that is for the public comments that we allow at the end of the meetings, which is something you can come forward, speak to the council about any issue you may have for 5 minutes. And so that's what that sign-up sheet is for. We don't really go by that sign-up sheet for the zonings. Whether you've signed up or not, you are still eligible to come up and speak. We do ask that you keep it to one topic. If you're in the public comment at the end of the meeting, keep it to one topic and no more than 5 minutes. Okay? So with that, we will start with public hearing. Item A, second reading, RZ 24-01, LUP 24-01, SUP 24-01. Consideration and action on applications by First Baptist Church of Snellville, Inc., the property owner, and Eris Holdings, LLC, the applicant, requesting to amend the Snellville 2045 future land use map from residential low density to town center, amend the official zoning map from RS30 Single Family Residential District to TCR Town Center Residential District. Request for a special use permit and request for variances from the Snellville Unified Development Ordinance for a multifamily development consisting of 300 town center flat units on a 16.96 plus or minus acre tract located at Henry Clower Boulevard, Pine Street, and Church Street, Snellville. The tax parcels are 5027001, 015, 016, 016A, 020, 021, 097, 009, 124, 113, 007, and 11,325 square feet of Pine Street right-of-way to be abandoned. We've had a request from the applicant that was posted on the website to postpone this second reading to August 26th. Is there a motion by council?
Motion to postpone RZ 24-01, LUP 24-01, and SUP 24-01 until the August 26th City Council meeting for second reading and public hearing.
Thank you. There is a motion to postpone this to August 26th. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll get Norman on that one. There is a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. Now we have item B, second reading, UDO 24-01, consideration and action on amendment to the text of the Snellville Unified Development Ordinance, or UDO, to adopt a local amendment to the Georgia State Minimum Standard Plumbing Code and to maintain the Metro Water District Water Efficiency Code requirements per action item. Water Supply, Water Conservation 8, page 555 of the, is that December 2022 Water Resources Management Plan. Just, oh, you can explain this? Mr. Thompson.
As you stated, it's for the toilet water, right? More efficient use of the toilet water as prescribed by the Metropolitan Planning Organization. Basically, this is a model ordinance that we have to adopt to stay in the good graces of the state EPA. We recommend approval of the proposed text amendment, and we'll ask you later to submit for resolution, basically to submit or transmit the model ordinance as adopted to the state so we can be back in line with the Metropolitan Water Planning District.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Any questions of council? Thank you. And there is no applicant on this. This is a requirement from the state to regulate your water levels in your toilets that we have to comply with. And it is a public hearing item, so I will open the floor to public comment. If anyone would like to speak on this matter, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. No takers on this one. Therefore, I will close the public comment and entertain a motion.
Motion to approve UDO 24-01.
There is a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any comments? Then I will call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. Your toilets have been so regulated.
Very regulated and more efficient too.
So we have item C, second reading, RZ 24-02, consideration and action on application by Vikram Chahardi and Grace Ridge Snellville LLC property owners and Parkland Communities, Inc. applicant, requesting to amend the official zoning map from BG General Business District to RTH Townhome Residential District, and request for variances from the Snellville Unified Development Ordinance for a 64-unit, single-family attached townhome development on an 8.174 plus or minus acre site located adjacent to the Town Center Office Park, 2785 West Main Street, Snellville. That's tax parcels 5007165, 282, 283, and 5007-285.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to recuse myself from this particular rezoning.
Certainly. We will give you a few minutes to exit, and you'll be granted a few extra minutes.
Yeah, I may need it.
Gretchen just had a knee surgery last week, so she's moving a little slower.
Moving pretty good still.
Mr. Thompson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you, public, for being here tonight. In front of us this evening, we have a rezoning request, RZ 24-02. They're here to request rezoning and variances. The current zoning is BG. The requested zoning is RTH, or Townhome Residential District. They're proposing a 64-unit, single-family attached townhome development over 8.174 acres, located from 2785 to 2791. Just a little location, we get the Snellville, I think it's the Snellville Garage there, or used to be called the Snellville Garage. There's a Town Center Business Park here to the east. A little further than that, you've got Fountain Square Business Center and the old Target parking lot. And I think that's and then this is O'Reilly's up here just to kind of coordinate, and then Fountain Square Drive here with the hospital up to the east, and of course Nob Hill to the west, or would be the west, adjacent to the rear of the proposed development. The application comes from Mr. Vikram from Stone Mountain with Grace Ridge Snellville LLC, and the applicant here tonight is Tyler Lasser with the Business Development Manager at LGA Land Development. It's located just east of the Town Center Office Park, was originally part of a future phase of the office park, basically crashed and burned, and then the recession about 2011. It's been in that state since then, and was at one point the home to the old police department, I'm told. Again, the proposal is proposed development is located to Nob Hill Estates with other medical service providers on Fountain Drive. It's now Crown Auto Repair to the south, and again the Town Center Office Park to the west, or half of it. The applicant is requesting again an official zoning map amendment and a couple of variances regarding the site setback and the recreational use of the land that's required as part of site development for the entire development. Just a little bit from the comprehensive plan. The proposed RTH rezoning is one of the several appropriate zoning districts as outlined in the comprehensive plan for a health village future land use category, which is what this property falls in. It's typically located around heavy medical uses to complement housing for medical professionals and other family types that may see townhomes as a desirable place to live. The Highway 78 character area is pretty much what it's been, a combination of different aged and some redeveloped and some older developments, mainly commercial on the front with typically residences on the back side of that commercial. We found a few land use policies that support the approval of the project. Under protect and enhance the existing residential neighborhoods is the Townhome Development acts as a transitional zone between the heavier commercial uses on Highway 78 and the single-family, low-density residential uses that you could find in Nob Hill. It also facilitates the live, work, play. We have the hospital there, and it also facilitates redevelopment amongst our major corridors, especially our aging corridors, provides housing diversity, and provides more affordable housing stock, if that can be said much anymore. But so that's the request for the zoning. The site plan, as you can see, is a long rectangular, land mass, which was basically just the rectangle that was left here. It has access from a shared access drive here. Also going to provide access to Fountain Drive to enter and exit with the light. This is not access, but just a flag that houses an overhead power line easement is why that exists there. So we found out from the owner of Crown Auto. It does show 64 units, and something that's a little different than you might see is the houses here actually face, or the townhomes face each other with rear alleys behind to access the cars. There's some overflow parking. I think I'm missing the one with the turnaround on it, but there's a kind of a little, and then a connection to Crescent Drive that's now been proposed for and conditioned by the Planning Commission for emergency transportation vehicles or any kind of services to use, not for general ingress and egress in and out. That'll be provided much more efficiently up on Fountain Drive and Highway 78. Parking is here. It shows two per in the garage, some additional spaces on the main drive for any guest, and then a little overflow there at Crescent should there be the need for it. Let me see. Here's some of the building elevations. We'll just kind of go pretty standard and fits the code. Different material types on the front. And it's just a standard, pretty much townhome product that you see on the market now, 22 feet wide. And the rears will actually be where the driveways are, and there's kind of the alley. This is some cementuous siding. There'll be other materials required per the code. The applicants agreed to meet those codes. So they did request two variances, one of which was only required. One regarding the open space is not required, or the recreational use, because it's not applicable to this property given the size. But there was a small setback variance requested. The site setback here, where the first 8 units kind of converge on this corner. It's supposed to be 40 feet. In order to follow the road and get those in, they needed to bring it down to, I believe, down to 19 feet at the smallest. We recommended approval, giving there be some buffering on the back side as well, and the entrance will be there to kind of shield the limited setback, which will then be observed on the rest of the property as it tapers back in and there's more space. Again, the second variance request was not required, and that had to do with providing a pool and some other open space was not required on anything less than 10 acres, so that was not required. One more. Also, the eastern property line, they've requested a setback from 20 feet to 7, given the proximity of a more of intense use. Typically, if the new use wants to come in, we don't necessarily require, we don't push the extra buffer there. They're protecting themselves from the office park, so we figured we recommend approval on that side. And then I believe they need a little bit more on, we talked about the site setback. So that's all. From 40 to 31 in some places, and then from 40 to 19 in other places. Here, mainly, and here, and a little bit right here because of the drive. And that's adjacent to the heavy medical uses to the east. As far as some of the issues and concerns that we heard in Planning Commission, there were some concerns regarding street widths of the alleyways, which just go ahead and let you know those aren't necessarily regulated, as alleyways don't have a specific width that's required. Like a public street would be 27 back of curb. These are showing 20 feet back of curb to back of curb. There's some concerns there with the street width, and then thus leading to the larger concern is what do you do with the trash? How will the trucks pick it up? How will they operate in the dead ends? That was the biggest concern about how to safely collect the sanitation and how to do that. I'll let the applicant speak to any kind of questions you guys may have on that. They haven't really given us a plan at this point in time. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions that the council may have regarding the variances or the case.
Thank you, Jason. I do have a question. With the reduced buffer, I know on the top side, I'm going to call it the top side, you have the private street running down along the edge, and then there's just a 7-foot buffer between that street on the top side, that street and the property line for the power line easement. So you're going to have street, curb, and then 7 feet with
And then
power
there-
lines running down there.
Yeah,
So,
overhead, and then on the other side of that will be the property line for the adjoining. Yeah, that's the way I read it as well.
okay, and then, so there's not going to be really any opportunities there for any plantings or
I think we
buffer?
just won't get any major overstory stuff along that edge. I think the back side of that is already pretty well wooded on the other property, so it won't necessarily need as much there. But ornamental stuff we can probably plant in that easement. You just can't anything that goes way up. So it wouldn't be barren, I would hope. As long as it doesn't get up in the way, they won't cut it down.
Okay. And then would our ordinance require any kind of landscaping in there, or is that something that would have to be conditioned in there?
I mean, it would have it would be considered a landscape strip.
Okay,
The only thing we would take into account is the overhead easement.
okay.
So that would limit, again, the high canopy trees.
Okay, and they're also asking for a reduction in the lower side,
Correct.
backing up to the town center office park.
A little bit less of one down there from 40, it looks like, some of the smallest.
22 and-
To 22.
And 19, I think,
Yeah.
at the, behind Unit 14. Will there also be landscaping required in that buffer as well?
Correct. There's going to be a landscape strip along the entire proximity of the parcel, front, rear, and sides.
Okay. Okay, any other council members have questions for Mr. Thompson?
Mr. Thompson, under our UDO, what's the minimum width allowed for a city street?
A minimum width for a city-built or city right-of-way or a private street that's built under city regulations is 27 feet. Back of curb, 24 feet asphalt.
Okay, and on this site plan, they're calling these alleyways,
Correct.
and the width shown on their drawing is what?
20 back of curb with a 16-foot asphalt. That's what is indicated in the application.
Okay. Do you know what the definition of alley is under our UDO?
Can you tell me?
it's a public or private serviceway which is primarily used as a secondary means of vehicular and service access to the backside of an abutting property. I went to Georgia State. Do these meet that definition?
Alleyways?
Yes. Would you say that these are used as a secondary means of vehicular and service access to the backside of abutting properties?
They don't have a primary, so as far as vehicles go, but definitely service side would fit.
Okay. Well, when we adopted the UDO and expanded our road width to 27 feet, what was the main purpose for that? Do you recall?
Tell me.
It was for life safety and quality of life in our neighborhoods, and I'm just curious how we ended up with this.
Ask the applicant.
Thank you.
Any other council members have questions for Mr. Thompson? There is some murmuring in the audience. I'd ask you to please to hold your conversations if you're here. Thank you. Any other council members? Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is the applicant present?
All right, good evening. My name is Tyler Lasser with LJA Engineering at 299 South Main Street in Alpharetta. Here tonight on behalf of my client, applicant Parkland Communities, and with Parkland tonight, Jim Jacoby, the president, is here with us tonight. So if you have any questions directly for him, he's happy to answer. Tonight we are requesting to rezone the subject site from BG to RTH. And thank you, Mr. Thompson, too, for the presentation. I just want to reiterate a few things, and I want to fill you in on a couple changes we've actually made since the Planning Commission meeting. We have listened to what the opposition has said, and we've tried to accommodate within our plan. Again, this is 64 townhomes, variation of materials on these, cement siding and brick. They start at 1,600 square feet. That's heated. They have 3 beds, 2.5 baths. As it was mentioned before, there will be they have rear entry 2-car garages. So 2-car garage, 2-car driveway, so 4 spaces per unit. Plenty of parking off street. These are going to be for sale townhomes, and I know there's always concerns about rental. They are for sale. They're intended to be for sale, but we are open to the rental cap that's listed within the staff report, which I believe is 10%. Let me go back to the site plan that's a little bit updated. So as I mentioned, rear entry garages, so they're accessible through the alleys. So our main streets throughout start at 27 feet back of curb, and they actually go up to at least 31 feet back of curb. And with these alleys, again, you have to keep in mind that these are people pulling into their driveways. This is not people going past each other at 30 miles an hour. It's people simply just pulling into their driveways at 5-10 miles an hour. There's never been an issue with any of Parkland's townhouse developments that have a very similar layout. The units with the rear alleys, and this is really Parkland's intent by doing this, is to allow that front yard, the courtyard space in front of each unit. This really just creates more green space, less cement throughout the development, and really creates a sense of community. People actually interact with their neighbors. And then on top of that, when you're walking through the community, you're not looking at a bunch of garages. With the sidewalks being mentioned, just with the courtyard, so sidewalks do go through, and they come throughout the development, so they go all the way to the back, along the side street here, through the access points here, and then onto 78. Of course, this property is it's still very close to the city center, so over time, it'll just become more and more walkable, and people will be able to enjoy that. The only units that don't face an interior courtyard are the ones up front. They actually have a larger open green space, and that will be manicured with a nice monument sign as well, so people can see it coming down 78. Overall site access, mentioned before, there's going to be one site access from Fountain Drive, which already has traffic lights and turn lanes, and then also from the Town Center Office Park driveway, which is right in, right out, with an existing turn lane, so plenty of options for site access. I do want to point out that we are showing the emergency access drive at the back of the property. This will be equipped with a Knox box, so emergency vehicles can get in and out. And also, if something were to happen to one of these access points, those that live within here can actually get out, as well as emergency vehicles. So I do want to point out that that is one of the big changes that we have made, or we just want to make it very clear. Also, at the back of the property where that access point is, we have a 20-foot buffer, undisturbed, and an additional 20 feet graded replanted buffer. So it's 40 feet of vegetation, any sparsely planted areas that you'll be replanted for a total of 40 feet. And then in addition to that, on the back of the property, we will install a 6 feet tall privacy fence, opaque fence. So there will not be any visibility into or out of the development. With that being said, with all of this open space and buffer area, there will be an HOA. They do an HOA in all their developments, so everything will be maintained and manicured properly. Garbage, I know that's been an issue, and I'll actually bring up Mr. Jacoby to discuss that a little bit. We've been speaking with Public Works quite a bit, and we've got some changes or options that we want to bring to your attention. The last couple of things I want to say, this development does meet the intent of the comprehensive plan. It's in that health village area, which states that townhomes are an appropriate use here. It's also potentially the least intense use that the comprehensive plan for this character area allows. It also allows civic uses, office uses, build to rent, and there are, of course, plenty of offices and commercial in this area along 78 and directly next door. But overall, we think this is a great opportunity for residential infill, close to the town center, which is intended to be walkable. That's the whole point of the town center. But we think it's a perfect opportunity for housing for those living or working in the medical community. Of course, getting people closer to work, services and conveniences just ultimately cuts down on congestion and promotes walkability throughout the community. With that being said, I'll turn it over to Mr. Jacoby.
Hello, my name is Jim Jacoby. I'm the owner of Parkland Communities. Address 363 South Main Street, Alpharetta, Georgia, 3005. Thank you for your time tonight. One quick item to address. We intentionally designed this community to really focus on parks. We did not want a stereotypical townhouse community. So our interior courtyards are all designed to be as courtyards, just maybe a little bit bigger so we can see a little bit better. So as you can see, all of our townhomes intentionally front onto a courtyard and park-like setting. And what this really creates is a sense of community where neighbors now talk with neighbors, and it creates engagement. And it's completely different and atypical than, I would say, a standard rear tree townhouse has an alley behind it and a street in front of it, and it just becomes very impervious, a lot of impervious. And what we're trying to do is really promote the green space in all of our communities, and especially this one. And the one aspect we really do like, one feature we really like, is along the main frontage. We really like the idea of having a large green space park along Stone Mountain Highway, and it really breaks up a strongly retail corridor and to bring some more greenery to the streetscape. And I really like the juxtaposition of that building at an angle. I think it just creates a lot of interest. Most importantly, we've really gone through a lot of extra effort in securing the property here, so we have an entrance on Fountain Drive, which will give us access to the street light. And most importantly, all of the jobs that are right there off Fountain Drive, most important and most directly the hospital. And we do believe that a lot of the people that work there will end up living here. And that is our intent as a service. I know there's a lot of concern over trash, and we're happy to talk with length. But one idea is that for communities like this, trash haulers have different types of trucks, and they're compact rear entry trucks. And these are the kind of trucks that we see throughout our communities that are done like this. So there's different options that they have available, and these trucks can navigate the alleys with ease. I have projects in Alpharetta and Roswell, and this is exactly what they use, is trucks just like this, where we've done the same scenario. So there's way more options than your stereotypical oversized garbage truck with the large arm that takes up a lot of room. So we can work with the trash hauler and come up with some creative ways on how this can be serviced. And in addition, if it requires homeowners to bring their garbage, so if they have to bring their garbage just on one side of the alley, or if they have to bring their garbage on this side of the street. These streets are oversized as they are. I know your minimum is 27 feet, but in most areas our streets are 31 feet, I believe, back of curb to back of curb. So we've gone a little bit higher, which I believe this street here is, I think the black and white one, maybe under here, is 31 feet. You can zoom in, but I think it says 31 feet. Somewhere. Do you have the large? Where's that large? I'm trying to rush through here so I can be cognizant of everybody's time. Correct. So those are 31 feet right here, back of curb to back of curb. So you have extra room. Also, this connection back here acts as a truck turnaround. So it's easy for any garbage truck or any sort of truck to do a 3-point turn and come out and around and back. The alleys also are not 25-mile-an-hour alleys. These are just 5, 10 miles an hour. It's just quick access to your driveway and out. 20 feet wide is the standard width of alleys. If a fire truck has to go down an alley, the fire truck can fit and its downriggers can fit within the 20 feet. And so that's why they're intentionally designed to be that way. 20 feet is what our standard is that we've done all throughout Gwinnett County on all of our projects that do require, where our products have required alleys. So it has been widely accepted as that use. In addition, we did it in other municipalities as well. One thing to point out, the detention pond is shared detention with the office park. There's existing documentation and homeowner association agreement, or owner association agreements that will work with, that make us work together. So we've got that figured out. And on the 7 feet along the planted strip, we 100% do anticipate to plant ornamental evergreen trees going along that road, because we would like to create a nice wall of greenery between us and the adjoining office park. There's also a substantial buffer on the other side of the property line between us and the office park, but we would like to do further screening as well. One thing to note, the power line is on the other property, not on our property. So it does come down, the power line does come down through here and then comes over onto their property line this way and serves, I think, this last building, if I remember correctly. So we have examined every aspect of this community. We feel like we've done a good job, but we're open for discussion. If anybody has some ideas of a way we can improve it and do better, we're more than happy to talk about it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Jacoby.
You have 3 minutes and 41 seconds for rebuttal.
Are there any questions of council for Mr. Lasser or Mr. Jacoby?
I have a couple. I guess Mr. Jacoby would be the best person to answer these. If you could put the drawing back up there again, since this is the first time that we've seen these new renderings. It's back up on the screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you mentioned that other jurisdictions, they have these smaller garbage trucks. Did you purchase those for the service provider? Do you pay for these special sized garbage trucks?
So they're not special sized garbage trucks. Most haulers
they're smaller, right?
They already have them. Like Republic Trash already has it. Waste Management already has them. Those haulers, they already have the trucks in their fleets.
Okay, all right. And has the layout changed at all? Are we still looking at a 17-foot wide alleyway that gives you access to a 20-foot wide driveway?
No, sir. Technically, the alley is 20 feet wide, back curb to back curb. The curb.
Can you drive on the curb?
Yes, sir. The curb is a 12-inch ribbon curb, is what and it's the same level as the asphalt, so it's not elevated. The alleys are designed to be concave, where the water drains down the center of the alley, and the stormwater's in the center. So the curb is there really says we have a clean edge. I can't stand alleys that have no curbs, and asphalt just dies in the grass. It starts to break and chip, and so what we do is we do a 12 by 12 block of poured concrete going down the edge to give us a nice clean edge.
So it's a true usable 20
Yes, sir. It's
feet.
a true usable 20 feet wide, and it's 18 feet of asphalt. So it's 1 foot of concrete, 18 feet of asphalt in the middle. Yes, sir.
Any other council members have questions?
Just based on the walkability factor, could you point out specifically where your connecting sidewalks are here?
Let me get this. Maybe a little easier to see. We talk about our connection. So we are providing a connecting sidewalk up to Fountain Drive. I'm going to do this just a little bit. I don't know how to do the zoom here. We are providing connecting sidewalks up to Fountain Drive, which already gets you to 78. Are you talking about out to the main road or connecting sidewalks in here? So we do have connecting sidewalks. Okay. All the above? No problem. Yeah. So we do have connecting sidewalks that'll come down the center of every courtyard that'll connect you out. That way, if you want to have, one thing to note, I did not mention, we have a lot of parallel parking for guest or overflow parking. All of our units have 4 spaces total. There are 2 in the garage, 2 in the driveway. But if you need extra overflow parking, we have that here because we don't want anybody parking in the street. We want them out of the street and out of the travel lanes. But you can park here and then walk straight down and come visit your friend, come down the alleys. And most importantly, we also have the sidewalks coming all the way down through here, and then we'll bring you back out to 78 as well. In addition, we have sidewalks that come this way to bring you down. So we like sidewalks, and we typically do an overabundance of sidewalks in our communities for the feeling that creates within our communities.
Okay, so I'm seeing sidewalks where you said parallel parking exists.
Yes, ma'am. And we also have a sidewalk
so
that goes all the way down the whole road frontage.
That's what I thought. But
yes, ma'am.
Just to clarify.
I do have one more question while you're still there. You mentioned that you have a number of these developments here in Gwinnett County. Did you provide us with other locations that we could have gone and looked at so we could see your finished product?
It would have to be something we did historically. So we are, I'm guessing to give you the long answer to that. I had one of the largest home building companies in the state of Georgia. I sold that home building company in 2015 to a big national builder. They came into town. I had a non-compete for 5 years. During that time period, I started a land planning, engineering, and surveying company. I started that company from 3 employees, built it up to one of the largest privately owned engineering companies in the state. I did sell that company to focus back on, to get all my 100% attention back on building. We are currently in the process of developing and just received some zoning approvals. Most recent zoning approval we received is a zoning approval off of Rockbridge Road near the redevelopment site for the tennis center. It has our rear entry product, actually it has the same exact rear entry product featured in part of it, where we're doing the rear entry and they're fronting the amenities as well. We have other cases pending where we're using this as well. There's one we did in technically unincorporated Gwinnett, but it's in near Lawrenceville past the airport, where we did a really large master plan project like that, where we use these alleys as well. So I'm happy to round up all the examples and send them to you.
The short answer is no, there aren't any constructed currently
Yes, sir.
to this plan.
They are constructed.
They are
But
constructed.
we were not the builder. We were not the home builder.
Thank you.
Anyone else with a question for the applicant?
Would you consider reducing the number of units in order to comply with our existing codes of 27 feet in what really doesn't seem much like an alleyway, but rather a primary access point for residents.
Your question is kind of a domino effect. So I'm trying to look at the overall site plan. You know, if we have 20 and all of a sudden you're adding 7, you're gonna. I guess one thought that comes to mind, the wider the streets are, the faster people drive. And I do like the alleys being narrowed to kind of help people drive slower. I think it creates a slower traffic. Maybe a better, because if you add 7, you're taking 35 feet across the whole length. And I think it really really changes the site plan substantially. I think we'll make it probably a little bit inferior plan. Maybe the idea would be better, how about if it compromised, you could create some connections. So the alleys could become one way if you wanted to do that. And therefore, we're still meeting a fire code of 20 feet wide. You know, this area down here that would kind of, you know, you're going to take a lot of street up, a lot of buffer, but this area is also intended for drainage, stormwater drainage coming down, a swale coming through there with our landscaping. But that may be a better solution than just a 27-foot wide alley that really really doesn't serve a purpose. The extra 5 feet just creates more stormwater. Even the connection is just going to create more stormwater because you're only serving, you know, 12 units. But short answer to that, I'm open to anything that can make the mayor and council happy. I'm willing to work with you to come up with a good compromise that you believe is acceptable for the city. But I think there's a lot of options. I personally think the project is designed very well. We have a project just like this in Alpharetta that we did. In Alpharetta, we did $700,000, $800,000 houses, and we used a 20-foot wide road, and all the homes fronted onto a central green. It turned out really pretty. Did the same thing in Roswell where we did townhouses. So I think this is proven to meet a standard of acceptability. But I'm happy to work with you if you have some other ideas.
Mr. Jacoby, my big issue is, having never seen one that's built this way, I can only go by my experience. So is there any compromise you can think of that would allow us the time to go and see, even if it's not one that you built, but one that has the same design before we move forward on this?
Matter of fact, I think that's a great idea. Now that I think about it, I think we ought to go visit my project I did in Alpharetta. We did 20-foot wide alleys, back curb to back curb. And let's go check that out and see it. And so you can kind of see how it feels and looks. So I think I'm totally fine with that. We can meet you out there one day and you can check it, you can walk it and look at it and tell me what you think. And you can
City Attorney, can you figure out a way that we can unwind this to the point where we can do that?
We need to, at this point, we need to go ahead and complete the public hearing. I would just, if there's, we can see if there's any other people who want to speak in support, and then we need to hear from the opposition. Then you certainly can take a motion if you wish to postpone or table any further action on this, so you can have an opportunity to have that, so that you can consider all your options in making a decision.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Jacoby.
Yes, ma'am.
Having heard from our planning director and the applicant, I will now open the floor to public comment. We will first take anyone in opposition to this plan. Oh, sorry. We will take anyone in support of this plan. First, again, we will have 15 minutes total for anyone that wants to speak in support of this program or project. Each speaker would have no more than 5 minutes. So if you would like to speak in support of this, then please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Okay, seeing none, then we will hear anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this plan. Please step forward and give your name and address for the record.
Kurt Schultz, 2027 Tanglewood Drive in the Nob Hill subdivision. I'm kind of torn between supporting and being against this, to be truthful. I didn't know which one to get up for. But I think all our neighbors in Nob Hill and probably Millbrook also would probably, their first choice would be to keep the land vacant, just like it's been for God knows how many years. And that's what we've been used to. But also we know that this is not possible. This is going to be developed. It's got a nasty commercial zoning on it now, which would allow for some really unfavorable type of construction going on there. In the past several years, we've had everything from storage units, which I can see being open 24/7, and people taking things in and out constantly all through the night and day, making all kinds of noises. One previous that I remember, I believe, was for a hospital unit, which would be quite a bit of activity over there also. So I am much in favor of getting this zoning changed to a residential type zoning. And in that aspect, I am in favor of this project. I totally agree with the statements that have been made, about the size of the alleys and so on, that they might need to be studied some more. And it would be wonderful if we could, get those a little bit wider. I sent emails to the planning department and all the council members, with concerns that I had, and apparently they've all been answered. I'll just go through them, and I want to make sure everything is taken care of. I want to make sure that locked gate is one that will stay locked, entirely, unless there is a real emergency. If they'd have both entrances to their development somehow blocked off, that would be the only reason that would be open. Other than that, I would imagine the gate would stay closed permanently and only be accessible by the fire department. It wasn't mentioned. I'd like to know what is going into the 40-foot buffer, 20-foot existing and 20-foot planted. I'd like to make sure we have some, dense buffering going in there to protect our neighborhood. I'd also like to make certain that only 10% of the units would be rentals. I'd like to see that prominently displayed in the documents. You mentioned that an HOA would be required, which is great. With some of the problems we're having in our older neighborhoods in the city, I think if we had HOAs throughout, it would help prevent some of these problems with renters and so on. And I guess the last thing that was answered for me was about a fence between the common property line between Nob Hill and this property, that it would be erected. And I don't know if it was said exactly if that would be an opaque or semi-opaque. But anyway, those are my questions and thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
10 minutes and 52 seconds remaining.
Madam Mayor, fellow council members, I have strong concerns regarding the 64-unit
Excuse me,
town.
if you
Oh, I'm
could
sorry.
name
Chip
and
Canales, 1937 Crescent Drive, Nob Hill, right off of Crescent. I have strong concerns regarding the 64-unit townhouse development beyond the end of Crescent Drive. I only have a little bit of time, so I got to talk fast here. My wife and I moved here in 2020. We chose Snellville for its schools, low crime, and most importantly, its sense of community, especially in Nob Hill. Like our neighbors, I think I speak for a lot of them, we're trying our hardest to keep it this way. And it's my understanding from a council member's spouse that it may not be wise to raise too many complaints, otherwise we may risk, and I quote, the mayor and council looking the other way the next time we ask them for help with the problem, close quote. Now, I may be from another state, but I never got that notion that's how things are done in Georgia. I, for one, was a very strong supporter of several representatives here tonight during the last few rounds of elections, and I'd like to think that means something. Though this likely means my banishment from the neighborhood Facebook group, I'd like to point out my main concerns regardless if I'm, quote, beating a dead horse. High-density local population. As a traffic reporter in a major radio station, I have a strong feeling if things continue the way that they are, it's only a matter of time until Scenic Highway and 78 joins the ranks of Buford Highway and Lawrenceville Highway. If this swift progress continues, we need to consider changing Snellville's slogan from where everybody's proud to be somebody to Atlanta's unofficial one, we fool. Higher likelihood of increased crime, overcrowding of schools, decreased home values. These repeating complaints sure perhaps may be an annoyance to you guys, but they are our concerns, truly. And concerns surely deserve to be heard. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
8 minutes and 54 seconds remaining.
I'll make this quick. Sherry Allen, representing Page Street South in Snellville, but also for the whole city. I like what you had mentioned about how the zoning and the variances, and they're different now. It seems like all of these things that are getting built through the city, theirs is absolutely beautiful compared to the stuff that's proposed to be built in other parts of the city. My concern is 2452 Page Street, used to be a historical type house. Dinah Bob's family owned it. Sam Ketchum, the motorcycle driver, first Snellville, motorcycle driver, it was his family's place there. When he purchased the home, he gutted it, went to redo it, came and proposed to put an extension on the home, and he was told no. The city downed it. You have to be 40 feet from the road. But it seems like all these new buildings that are being put up, all of a sudden the one on Henry Clower and Church Street is 10 feet. It's kind of like the Grove. That is not a 40-foot from the road. And I just don't think putting in an occasional tree or a little bit of grass in that 10-foot section is going to keep it green space. I mean, I believe in growth. I know it's going to happen. But maybe not so much so fast. There's other places. Like I say, theirs looks beautiful compared to the ones that are being proposed in all over Snellville. And if there's the actual 40-foot variance, why am I hearing now and looking up sites that are proposing 10 feet, 20 feet, 27? I mean, if they're going to be listed as a residential property, wouldn't that be the same as a homeowner's residential property guideline? I'm not understanding where all of a sudden this one can be zoned at 27 feet. This one can, no, you can't. It has to be 40. I mean, my parents are getting older. My father has dementia. We're talking about selling our home in Lilburn and building onto my parents' property on Page Street. But I don't want to go through all the hassle of, well, why is it this is 20 feet? Why is this place 10 feet? Why is this place 27 feet? And we're being told, no, it has to be 40 feet from the road. And I think a lot of people have the same concern. There's such a fluctuation that who's allowed and who's not. Is it for tax purposes, tax revenue? The city wants that much more money? you know? And the first gentleman that had the little bus transit, while I agree with that, because my parents don't drive, how many times would they have to change buses, like if they had an appointment up in Beaufort, in that part of Gwinnett County? Is it just the one bus that would be able to take him there, or do they have to change and pay $3?
Ma'am, if you could stay to the zoning and not the transit plan.
Okay, yeah, okay,
Thank
well,
you.
the zoning part was, you know, basically it. I'm just concerned with where's the logistics, where's the actual 27 feet, 20 feet, 40 feet from the road situation. Like I said, I mean, theirs looks beautiful compared to so many of the other ones that I just think are going to really detour from the prettiness of what Snellville could really be. Thank you.
Thank you.
5 minutes and 9 seconds.
Tricia Rollins, 2088 Harbor Oaks Drive. Is there a way to look at this map? I don't know how to turn this on to look at this map. Anyway, my concerns is the garbage truck. You know that I've lived with the garbage trucks beeping behind my house, and I would want it stated in consideration that in planning and zoning, they said that the trash truck would back down this road, collecting garbage, and then drive out. Okay, that's beep, 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 all the way down that road. These residents are not going to deal with that. Okay. Another thing is, how far is it from front door to front door in the front? It was hard to hear back here, so I don't know if it was explained, but I'd like the citizens to know how far it is from front door to front door. Also, there's going to be parallel parking on that upper part right there, which narrows that road. There was talk in planning and zoning of taking off a row here, which sounded better, having to traffic to be able to travel around that area. Those were my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Catherine Hardrick, 2280 Buckley Trail. How much time I have?
3 minutes and 43 seconds.
Whew. Okay, I thought I was going to have to talk fast. I'm not good at that. But I will just be 60 seconds. Like, I agree with my fellow neighbor. It's a beautiful complex. It's, you know, really nicely designed. However, I do feel as though that it's out of character, along with my other neighbors who feel this way, who reside in this area. It's out of character with the rest of the area, as we know that this is commercial property, and now you're just, you know, dropping a residence there. If there is going to be an HOA, how much are the fees? It's 1,600 square feet with 2-car garage. It's supposed to be affordable living. How much is it going to cost? And I know that we're trying to target people who work in the hospitals and so forth, but if it's not affordable, because I think that word is just tossed around and it really doesn't mean affordable. So how much are these 1,600 square feet units with 2-car garages? And you said it's going to be 2 cars able to park in the driveway. Will they not spill over until the sidewalk? So like if the driveway is actually enough for 2 cars to fit in there, you know, in some of the subdivisions that they build up new, the cars are actually extending out into the sidewalk. So it's really not a driveway long enough to fit a vehicle in it if it's consuming the sidewalk as well as the driveway. That impedes your walkability. Like, no one really wants to walk around the car, you gotta walk in the street now. And then the other thing, like everybody is saying as well, regarding the trash pickup, right? You did put up some different vehicles, and that's wonderful, but they still have to back up. And like my other neighbor said, you're going to hear that beep, beep. And I know it may not seem irritating because for some, that's not your everyday. But when you are trying to rest and take care of your family and to hear these disruptions night in and day out, that is a pain. So to consider that as well. And then also, as my neighbor said, it eliminates the existing green space. We already have green space there, so it's eliminating that. I do understand that they're going to put the patch that's facing 78, but that's not enough. You know, in the past, the comprehensive plan had talked about turning that space on 78 into green space, and we really haven't seen it. We have Briscoe Park and then the Oak Grove Park, but none of the green space has really been kept the promise that was coming down 78 where that fence is. So I would love to see if we can do something to compromise what we're doing here. All right. Thank you so very much.
Jerry Oberholzer, 1855 Pennystone Way. I will be brief. It's an awful site plan. It's a cheap product. It doesn't work. I am well aware of what's in Alpharetta. I work for the city of Milton. If they were going to build a product in Alpharetta, that they have in Alpharetta here, it'd be different. This is too dense. It doesn't work. You have major defects on how you get people in and out of this. And also, I made a commitment when I was mayor that we would never make the connection on Crescent. So I wish that council would hold up to that. And also, I wouldn't worry about the traffic, the trash trucks. I'd be worried about public safety. How do you get a fire truck and how do you get a emergency vehicle at the end of those? So I promised I wasn't going to get up and talk about it, but I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
11 seconds remaining.
Have 11 seconds. I will close the public comment. Mr. Jacoby and Mr. Lasser, you have 3 minutes and 41 seconds for rebuttal.
All right. Well, one thing to note, I think there's been a little confusion over the 40-foot setback. I think a lot of the 40-foot setback comes into play here, not necessarily along the road frontage, and the 40-foot setback comes into play along this adjoining. One, I also like to say that the project I did in Alpharetta, the man was just talking about, is actually more dense than this one, higher density. And I would say the quality and the character are going to be just as good. I pride myself in architecture. I design my own plans. I am a registered landscape architect, land planner. So everything is centralized on focal points and walkability in my communities. There are just a lot of comments, a lot we have addressed in the plan, like they're there. Somebody mentioned we're parking in the street. We've gone over the parking. Trash truck, right? The trash truck doesn't back all the way down the main road. The trash truck may just back down an alley, and that's it, and then pull forward. And I did forget to mention, when you asked me earlier, caught me off guard, but I actually do have another project right now developed near Duluth. And if everybody here wants to go look at it, it's 1510 Duluth Highway, Lawrenceville, Georgia. It's 1510 Duluth Highway. It's called Sweetwater Springs. You can Google Sweetwater Springs Townhomes if you want. Go look at the website. But that project is designed identically to this. It's a perfect match. We are developing another project right now on Sugarloaf Parkway that is identical, or very similarly like this with these type of alleys. But the one on 1510 Duluth Highway is just like this. These alleys go just this way. And so you can actually see how the alleys look, how it works. One nice lady mentioned driveways being, the cars will not protrude into the streets. The driveways are 22 feet wide. A standard parking space in any parking lot is only 19 feet deep. Ours are 22, so there's plenty of room where a car won't protrude. But I just think there's a lot of questions and a lot of maybe misunderstandings would probably be by the site plan. So it'd probably be a great idea to at a minimum, postpone for 30 days. And we may need more, just have another meeting. We'd have another community town hall meeting with everybody. We can go over all the concerns. We can address concerns, because it's probably going to be a long night tonight. There's just too many loose ends to tie up in one meeting. If you'd be willing to work with me to give me a little more time to work with the community, address the concerns, and work with you, address any halves, we can come up with something that everybody is satisfied with. I don't expect everybody in the audience to jump up, slap me on the back, and say, "Attaboy, we love it." But I do feel like we can reach some sort of common ground where people say, all right, we think this could be a benefit to Snellville, and that's what we want to create. And we hope we do not plan on this being our first and only project in Snellville, and we appreciate the opportunity to earn your trust so we can do more. So we're happy to work with everybody to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jacoby. And with that, I will entertain a motion. Nope. Then I am officially closing the public hearing, as I was just advised by my attorney. So the public hearing portion is closed, and I will now entertain a motion from council.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we postpone the vote on this meeting until our August 26th regularly called meeting and public hearing. But there'll be no public hearing.
There is a motion to postpone until August 26th. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further comments by council? Yes, sir.
Do we have a date where we're going to meet with the applicant?
We can determine that after this meeting. Any other comments by council? Then all in favor of the postponement till August 26th, please raise your hand. That is 6-5 in favor, because we're missing one, with none opposed. Yes. If someone will go retrieve Councilmember Schultz.
I'll say thank you. Appreciate it.
Gretchen, if you're okay, while you're making your way forward, I'm just going to read the heading of the next one. Next, we have item D, second reading, RZ 24-03, SUP 24-02. Consideration and action on applications by Shifka Real Estate Investments, LLC, the property owner, and SPG Planners and Engineers, applicant, requesting to amend the official zoning map from BG General Business District to TCR Town Center Residential District. Request for a special use permit for Town Center flat residential units, and request for variances from the Snellville Unified Development Ordinance for a proposed 5-story Town Center flat residential building with 171 unit mix of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units on a 2.76 plus or minus acre site located in the Town Center Overlay District at 2380 Wisteria Drive, Snellville. Tax parcel 538133. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few of the basics again. The applicant is here to request a rezoning, noted as 24-03, as well as they're required to submit at the same time concurrently for a special use permit with the requested variances for any multifamily requested rezoning within the Town Center Residential District, which the entirety of TCR is the requested zoning, but the entirety of the project is located in the Town Center Overlay District and also within the Town Center Land Use District as well. The applicant, Mr. Mick Kittle, is here representing SPG Planners and Engineers, as well as the owner as the senior land planner. This again is for 171 units, a 5-story, 221,000 approximately square foot residential town center flats or apartments. And we are here on the 2.7 acre site that everyone probably knows as a former Ryan's Steakhouse. I think when I started here back in 2006, it was still a former Ryan's Steakhouse with no Ryans. We've had a few different ideas on what could go there, but given the age of the property and the design of the building, there was never really a restaurant that could just slide in, and we always had plans through the comp plans to kind of preserve this area for some of our more, higher density apartments, and something that would truly serve the demand of the Grove, which is here now with more and more commercial spaces opening that need to have support from these type of developments. And something that's unique to this site, I'll talk about just a little bit of the adjoining properties. We've got the existing strip center that's kind of attached to the Home Goods and all the larger Snellville or Wisteria Square, I believe is the name of the shopping center, the uninhabited old fitness center that's in pretty much bad shape as is Orion's, and hopefully will spur redevelopment there. But it also is connected to, through that small flag piece, over to an adjoining residential area off of Eastwood, and connects to our Greenway Trail there on the far east side, I believe. So again, as far as application and connection to the comprehensive plan, is pretty much everything that the existing and future character area for the town center that we want to provide. It also has underground parking, so that less space on the top is used for just other parking field. There's also some surface parking that services the service area. Let the applicant speak to a little more exactly what that is, and then some additional surface parking there on the flag for overflow, with the bulk of the guest parking and the underground parking, which, if you notice, the grade is the road to there. There's a lot of room there already where there wouldn't necessarily be as much digging. As we all know, there's a lot of rock in Snellville too. It can get real expensive really fast. But as far as the concept plan, it does promote walkable demand for the town center. It does front on Hughes Drive, which is a right of way, and as well as Wisteria. One of the variances that's associated with the application, because it kind of ties in well to this, is they want to be allowed to keep the two entrances as shown, one on Wisteria and one on Hughes Drive. The town center requires or dictates for new developments that on a storefront facing street, which Wisteria is, and by definition Hughes Drive is, you're only allowed one curb cut, and that's to promote pedestrian traffic to and from, so there's not as many curb cuts to walk through or worry about. Because the curb cuts are already there, they're kind of grandfathered to have them by the county, and we recommend approval for that variance given the layout. The curb cuts are far away, and they do both serve two different types of parking areas too, that we use typically by two different kinds of people. So we recommend approval for that variance while we're there. Again, the zoning map amendment is to town center residential. It also requires the special use, which allows the council to submit and take in all kinds of information about the fit, the type. It allows you to set the density for the project. The town center residential district does not have a maximum density, and the special use permit is used on a case-by-case basis to set the density. Another variance that they've asked for is to be allowed to build the residential dwelling on the bottom floor, which is similar to what we have at Tomlin as well. And the concern there, when the ordinance was written, that we would have just apartments everywhere and wouldn't have enough commercial to feed, to create the mixed use environment. And one of the allowances that the code allows is if there's 5,000 square feet of commercial space within a certain vicinity, which they do have, that they can vary from that. We recommend approval of that, given that its location is directly adjacent to the town center and hopefully new town center developments that come in the future. So those are the 1, 2, I think that's it. They've provided a traffic impact analysis. Doesn't show any degradation in traffic grades. As we all know, Wisteria is getting a little more crowded now by design, honestly. We have more people there, and then the ultimate goal for Wisteria is not to be a cut-through in the future. The ultimate goal for Wisteria is to be our main street, that in Oak, where if you're going to come through, you got to go slow, and that's why it's remained kind of at its width. We have the roundabout to help push people out, but the long-term plan is for the cut-through traffic to use the major corridors, the 124, 78, to move more efficiently if they're just passing through. There's as much traffic information in the report if you want, as you want. Conclusion and staff recommendation, we recommend approval for the rezoning. We recommend approval for this special use permit. And we recommend approval of the 2 variances as requested in the application. We have a few conditions that are attached as well. Typically, our standard conditions that tie the site plan to what's been submitted here today, and the variances that were given as part of the 213-2018 Board of Appeals cases are repealed. No adult entertainment and no billboards, basically. And those are our standard 4. And I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Are there any questions of council for Mr. Thompson? None? Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you.
And the applicants here, if you'd like to come forward. You have 15 minutes, and that will include your initial presentation and then time for rebuttal.
All right. Thank you. Kind of hard to zoom out there. All right. My name is Mick Kittle with SVG Planners and Engineers. We're at 1725 Electric Avenue, Watkinsville, Georgia. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you to Jason Thompson for the third presentation. So basically, I just want to run through some of the key highlights of the project, just to understand, how it really fits the town center corridor. So I think, the city of Snellville has done a great job just positioning the town center for redevelopment and providing an opportunity for more diversified housing options. The proposed town center flats development, it's a combination of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, would entice residents to reside closer to and bolster the existing commercial and retail landscape, offering a more sustainable strategy for community growth and support. With the cost of housing on the rise, apartments offer the ability to provide more affordable living options while maintaining proximity to urban amenities. Pedestrian connectivity. As a team of landscape architects and civil engineers, we at SPG look beyond the limits of the site design and really try to integrate the local context of the community. In recent years, the city has constructed a network of wide sidewalks and the Snellville Greenway to promote walkability and alternative means of travel. This proposed development will continue that effort by installing a 10-foot sidewalk along both frontages to extend and enhance the pedestrian corridor. Sense of place. The combination of residents living in a city center and walkability creates a lively urban environment and sense of place. Residents will have the ability to walk or bike to work, shop, and play. There will be more human activity, foot traffic for retail and restaurants, and a stronger community feel. Continuity. The proposed architecture, as you can see demonstrated here, I'm not sure if Jason was able to share these with you, but the proposed architecture, it includes a mix of high quality elements like brick, stone, metal, glass, hardy board, with neutral colors. This blends well with the recently constructed Tomlin apartments and other buildings throughout the Grove. Again, this further gives downtown a sense of place and identity. The proposed ground floor residential units were designed to have the appearance of a commercial storefront with elevated ceilings, tall glass facades, and material variation for visual interest. Some additional improvements. Stormwater will be treated on site by the use of underground detention. This system will have an outlet control structure that will not increase post-development flows over pre-development levels. As you know, that's a state law, and there's not detention on site currently, so we feel like this is going to be a vast improvement to actually control some of the stormwater. The project frontage along Wisteria will follow the recent improvements in the corridor by undergrounding the existing overhead power lines, and we've already met with Walton EMC on site. They're fully on board to do this. AT&T has reached out with an interest in providing a fiber line for increased internet access and speeds, and we feel it just enhances the visual gateway to the city by redeveloping the current eyesore, that's the abandoned Ryans, with a sea of parking. So thank you for your time this evening. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions of council for Mr. Kittle?
Hey, do you have any concerns about sewer capacity for this development?
Absolutely. We've heard, from a few sources that maybe the sewer system has some dated concerns and issues, but as we move into construction drawings, that's always something we check is capacity of sewer, quality of the sewer, and so we're going to explore all options to make sure it is the efficient system that we would need for this and work with the city just to assure that this is a possible project.
Anyone else?
I came up with one.
Okay. Imagine that.
Yeah, I know. This rendering is very different than what was in our packet, which is actually pretty good. One of the big feedbacks that I've gotten, especially from our younger residents, is they need color. They want color. They don't want a gray city that looks like something built in the Soviet Union in the way back.
Right.
Would you be amenable to a condition that would have you submit a color palette rendering to Director of Planning and Development for review and approval before moving forward?
Yes, we'd be happy to share any information, as far as color palette and materials, do a material board.
Okay,
I think
thank you.
That makes a lot of sense.
Anyway, Mr. Kittle, I had a couple of questions. If you could go back to the site map that was there. I know the where you've got the service area, that those are two, the large squares are dumpster enclosures.
Correct.
Can you explain to me how trash is would be
Yes.
serviced for this complex?
So as I mentioned, the ground floor has elevated ceilings, at least 15 feet. Most trash trucks are in a range of 12 to 14 feet. So what we're going to do is actually determine what type of truck would be coming to this site based on service area, and modify the architecture to make sure that we have clearance.
Okay. And then in other developments like this, how often is that trash service
I would
required?
expect trash would be, a couple times a week at most.
Okay. And then the other question I had was, it doesn't show in this map, but in one of the other site plans, I don't know if Jason's got it to put up. The elevators are located kind of in that center section. Okay, so this is the parking deck level.
Correct.
This is where it shows us the elevator, I think. That's there, right?
Right there.
Yes.
And I noticed the loading area is over, in that surface parking loading zone. Tell me how, as a mother who has moved her daughter in and out of apartments, how does someone moving in and out get their stuff over to the elevators? How does that work?
So there are corridor entrances. This is the elevator from the parking garage, which is actually below. But if you're on the surface parking, which is the same level as Wisteria, you can access through a corridor to get to the elevator. So that's only showing the parking garage on the bottom.
Okay, so from this surface parking, you're on essentially the first level?
Correct.
So you would just roll things inside and then go up the elevator?
Yes, and you can see the ADA parking, so that is actually ADA accessible into the corridor, which then gets you into the main part of the apartment complex.
Okay, I got it.
Yep. So that would be the leasing office, the elevators, all of that type of stuff.
Okay, okay.
And there should be floor plans for all floors in that set, which I'm happy to share with anyone.
Yeah, they are in this one. I hounded the planning director until I got a copy, so I think that covered my questions, but if you give me just a second. And the amenities that you'll offer in here in that courtyard? Tell me.
I think, just gathering spaces, maybe some yard games. It's not necessarily sizable for a pool. I mean, as you can see, the site's really tight in itself. It's kind of awkward shaped. But, the goal would be to really amenitize this as much as possible. Also including workout room, some of the other components that you see in more, higher end apartments.
Okay. And then I don't know if it's designed, if this is something that would come later, but the entrance that comes out of the parking deck onto Hugh Drive, is it possible to put a raised sidewalk table? Am I saying that right then?
Consider that. The idea is that if you go from Wisteria down Hugh, it slopes pretty far, and that's what lent to the idea of the podium parking. It starts to really work with the site instead of having to import dirt, export dirt, so I think pedestrian safety, especially being the greenway, is very important, and we would definitely be, open to that.
Okay, okay. Be required, yeah, something along there, okay. Okay, anyone else have any questions?
I'm sorry, I do have one more question. Member of the audience asked me earlier. I believe this is going to be concrete construction, at least on for the podium parking.
Right.
There was concerns about whether it's driving piles or excavating with explosives, how that would interact with the adjacent homeowners. They're not shown closely on the map, but they're fairly close, and there were concerns about the construction techniques. So at this point, you may or may not know the soil.
Right, the architect at this point has provided, an elevation and general floor plan as far as the constructability. I mean, I expect they're going to use the most efficient manner possible and the most affordable, as far as like not having to use explosions and just drill to where it's disturbing the neighbors, and as far as rock goes, I mean, our goal is to not encounter rock. You can never predict that, but that can get expensive and right. So at this point, it is kind of a DD level drawing, and the next steps with construction drawings, we'd be open to sharing that along the way and working with the city to make that, accommodating to the neighbors and just for the site itself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
You have 11 minutes and 36 seconds for rebuttal.
All right.
Okay. I have one more question, sorry. Have you considered the rooftop as maybe a potential amenity?
Potentially, again, at this level, I think we're trying to utilize as much space as possible on the site and not the density component. The amenity at the ground level with the greenway just starts to really blend itself into something you can ride your bike from downtown. You can park your bike and run out to the open space and fire up the grill or something. You don't necessarily have to take the elevator up to the 5th floor to be outside, and it just feels a little more inclusive of everybody. I feel like if it's on the ground level and just has that ability to connect to the pedestrian level.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kittle.
All right, thank you.
So now we will open the floor to public comment. We will start with those in support. And again, we will have 15 minutes for anyone who would like to speak in support. We ask you to keep your comments brief and be respectful of other people who might want to comment.
I'm not for or opposed to this place. I feel that this is the area that the Grove needs to go within their town center. My concerns were for this corner here. I can foresee a roundabout needing to be placed at Hugh Drive and Wisteria. Wanted to make sure this corner is set back enough to allow a roundabout because you have the cemetery on the opposite side that cannot be moved. Would be ashamed if anybody intruded on that. Like I said, I am for this and against it. I've got areas I'm concerned about, but the main one was at that corner of Hugh and Wisteria and all the traffic. We know that people are going to cut through. They do now. Trucks are not supposed to go through there. They do now. There's not any signs. Signs have not been put up in that area since it was said that the state said they couldn't come through there. But if you would consider the setback on that corner and make sure that it is enough room for a roundabout.
Thank you.
Barry Edson, 1750 Glen Eden Court. I am in support of the proposal and in support of the, I just blanked out what to call it, to allow for no ground floor retail. This location is close enough to the main Grove area, and there's a lot of planned retail and food and everything in that area. It's a very simple, easy 2 to 3 minute walk to get there, unlike another proposal which is before the council, which has been postponed for a while. I think this is a good use of that property and just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Terry Dempsey at 2336 Wisteria Drive, 2 parcels to the west of this property. I'm for progress. I'm generally for this plan. I also had concerns about existing sewer capacity on Wisteria. I don't have children in school anymore, but I have concerns about a whole bunch of kids crossing 78 to go to the high school. There's been talk about this over the last number of years with issues there, and anyway, that's a reality. It's kind of hard to see from the back, but I now see that the dog leg to the right here is surface parking, apparently, right? And all the other is underground parking. This property right now is essentially almost all impervious surface except for that dog leg which will be turned into asphalt. My question is, where is the detention pond for this project?
That was addressed. It'll be underground detention.
So it'll be underground, somewhere underground on that, just like the police department is. Okay, great. And maybe lastly, we've heard concerns or discussion about traffic on Wisteria Drive, which is pretty hairy right now. I don't know the planning numbers, but I'm guessing the 350 new cars are going to live there. How often they come and go, who knows? How many of these people actually walk to work, who knows? That's all great, but there is going to be more traffic on Wisteria Drive and throughout the city, and that's part of progress, I guess, but something we just need to keep in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So my name is Rochelle Brown, and I am resident at 2250 Oak Road. I live in the Tomlin Apartments, and I am in support of this development. I do just want to have some considerations for you. On the plans, it said was for 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments with 171 units and the elevator. As a person who lives in the Tomlin, knowing how congested the elevators are, and moving and the hallways being long, I would ask that they just consider that in the development. Also, that coming along with the 1, 2, and 3 bedroom home, you do have children and families, and the concern was no amenities. I am in favor of trying to utilize the rooftop space maybe for additional amenities for families and crosswalks for kids, the lighted crosswalks. There are children that do walk to school and will be walking back and forth across to the Grove Park, and the lighted crosswalks would be an additional safety. That is all.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Okay, so now we will move to anyone in opposition to the project. We will allocate 15 minutes. Please be respectful of other people who might want to comment as well.
My name is Tom Flynn. I live at 2358 Eastwood Drive, Snellville. I think it's too much on this property. It's going to go lot line to lot line, 5 stories tall. If you look at the plans or the GIS, and that's CS maybe 2, but if you look over here, the lot line is out in the street. So it really doesn't have 2.75 acres. I'm assuming there's a historical easement. The street's been there that way since I've been here for 25 plus years. So I think the site's just too small for 171 apartments. I have my suspicions that it will orphan the property where the daycare is now. That's a skinny lot and deep, so I don't know what will be built there. Plus, you're going to have a 5-story building next to it, right on the lot line. That lot's going to be in shade a good part of the day, okay? I'm also a little bit concerned whether the construction, because it's going to be right on the lot line, will disturb and make the daycare move. Same comments about the roundabout. I don't think there's enough room. When I look at the one out in front of the police department, it won't fit at Hugh Drive and Wisteria. Also, this building is going to be right on the street line. So it's right on the street line. Right here is where the stop sign is. There's going to be trees. That's already, a bunch of people at the Planning Commission meeting said they have a hard time getting out of Hugh Drive. I have a hard time getting out of there now. So you're going to cause more accidents. Stormwater. There was discussion about that, and I believe it's going to, the underground detention will go out the back. Now, right now, it's impervious, but all that water goes onto Hugh Drive. It doesn't go out the back. So now you're going to dump water on the back, and you're going to dump it on a residential property on Eastwood Drive. So that's something that I think you need to consider. It might wash away portions of the walkway back there. So we have other issues with that. I guess I'm really confused because originally I felt like the town center, the reason we needed a town center is we had way too many residents, so we had plenty of residential property, but we didn't have any business. So the town center was to put business in. Well, now I'm hearing, oh, well, maybe, I don't know, I see the signs, I don't know how easily you're renting the space you currently have, is we need more residences to get the businesses. So I'm just confused there, and we spent millions of dollars to get this going, and we could have invited apartments to the town center without doing all of that. And it's not adding affordable housing. This particular project was, in the Planning Commission said it was going to be high-end. I do have a question. Does the city have a plan for how many apartments we're going to put in the town center? Is there one? Where would I find a copy of it?
There's not a specific number, but there is, there's decision, I mean, this will all be bear it out in the future, whether the
Oh, you
housing.
don't have one right now?
Well, no, I don't. I don't have a specific number. We anticipate residential development in the town center that would probably be a mix of rental apartments. I'm hoping at one point we will have fee simple condos. There may be cottage style houses. So we anticipate as the town center develops over the next 10 to 15 years that there will be a big mix of housing.
Well, I would like the city to develop maybe some kind of density level that you're going to look for apartments. Because here, if every 2.75 acres gets 171 apartments, there's going to be an awful lot of apartments in the town center. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
10 minutes and 53 seconds remaining.
Good evening again, Jerry Oberholzer, 1855 Pennystone Way. I speak in opposition to this rezoning. Actually, I agree. We all want to see something done with that corner to get Ryan's down. And I do agree apartments is probably the right way. But I don't agree with the variances to remove the retail space, because that's what makes a development. I would point out to this downtown Decatur, where they've done similar to this, the retail space along the bottom is great. I do have a concern about 3-bedroom apartments. Who are we going to rent these out to? Let's be honest with you, there is no grocery stores. You're going to have to drive out of here. So we are now going to introduce 171 new residents at least out on the Wisteria and on Hugh Drive. I cannot speak for the Director of Planning for Gwinnett County, but him and I spoke just recently, and his comment was oof, which means there is no infrastructure improved on this. How do you get people through Wisteria, especially with school buses? Hugh Drive, actually back in, I believe it's 09 or 010, the Downtown Development Authority, we actually looked at connecting Hugh Drive with Eastgate, which would allow you another access. So really, that makes sense then. It would make sense to do a roundabout there, and would also make sense for this developer to have to sit and talk with the adjacent property owners and come up with interparcel connectivity to make sure it works. I'm against this as it stands. I think there needs to be a lot more work done on this before we're ready, but I do agree this is a right use for this. So I want to thank you all very much. And I did want to point out, doing my research, I was a little confused by your stormwater ordinance. I don't think, according to your website, I don't believe it's the latest and greatest, because if you're going to provide stormwater for this, it's going to be a huge facility. So bear that in mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? We have 8 minutes and 56 seconds.
Won't be long. Hello, my name is Steve Healy. I live at 2048 Harbor Oaks Drive. I would just like to voice my opposition to this. I don't think it's very well thought out. I don't think the traffic considerations have been considered. I believe if it's your intent to gridlock Wisteria Drive, this is a good start. And to me, this is like money talks and common sense walks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, everyone. This is the street that I walk from. I live down by South Gwinnett, and I commute, well, I walk and I drive this whole area from my house to the park on Sugarloaf Parkway and back. And it's already unsafe to cross the street to get onto Wisteria, just with the fact that people don't yield as they should to let pedestrians go by. So I would love to make sure that safety is a priority with this developer, to make sure that pedestrians, if we're trying to build a walkable city, that our roads are safe so that we can encourage people to walk. And because I do a lot of walking, I really, really want to make sure that we are safe as we continue to develop. Those trees and everything, like you said, it will cause visibility issues. And also, like the young lady said earlier, with being 40 feet away from the street, I don't know how far this is back from Wisteria. Did we say that already? Okay. I would like to know exactly how far back will this development be from Wisteria. I already know where Ryan's is, but how much further would this development come close to Wisteria Street, so we can find that out. As well as someone stated that it approved the traffic study. A traffic study was done and it said that it wasn't going to have any impact. Is that traffic study available for citizens to look at?
It's online with the documents.
It's with this document here? Okay, and so, because I find it hard to believe that it wouldn't impact our traffic on Wisteria in and of itself, okay? And so I do know that something needs to be done with Ryan's. I do like the fact that you are going to develop something there. I do agree that it needs to continue to have businesses at the bottom, because that is what is going to attract most of us. A lot of people live here and we don't have anything to do. A lot of folks have shared with me that live in the Tomlin or in other developments that there's nothing to do in Snellville. So at least if we could continue to make sure that bottom layer has businesses in there, at least we could continue to expand on our economic growth. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Minutes and 11 seconds remain.
My name is Margaret Van Buren, and I live at 2897 Kingstream Drive. And we've lived in Snellville probably now about 26 years, and I love Snellville. I volunteer in Snellville. When the town center was first proposed, I was for it. I didn't want to be a negative Nelly like a lot of the old timers were, but I am getting very concerned. It's not just this project, it's all the other projects that we're hearing that are being proposed, and traffic is an issue. I'm not a fan of where the post office is now. In the morning, I go over there if I have to go in the morning. You can't make a left down on Wisteria. You can't even get out at the bank. I go all the way around to Haverty's now just to get on 78 to work my way back to Lenora Church Road. Back in the holidays, we were at Home Depot on a Friday afternoon about 5:20, and we realized we had to go over to Family Tree to get something we needed. We barely made it from Home Depot to Family Tree at 5:30, 5:20 in the afternoon, and that was in the holidays. So my big concern is the traffic, and I hope you really seriously think about this, because I hear a lot of negative comments from people who've been longtime residents about the traffic in Snellville. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, then I will close the public comment. And Mr. Kittle, you have You have 6 minutes left.
All right, thank you. So I'll address some of the comments that were made as best I can. Traffic, it's always a concern wherever you are. It's definitely something that people don't want more of. But again, we went out of our way, which was not a requirement, to get a traffic study made for this project, just to analyze the impacts and get a professional recommendation from a licensed traffic engineer on how to proceed with the layout of this project. Based on a future build and no build situation, assuming the access off of Hugh and Wisteria, we were still within the acceptable limits of traffic generation, and submitted that report that is available to the public should they want to review. And feel free to reach out to the traffic engineers with questions, but we're just kind of following what we believe is the best scenario for this project and the surrounding area. Sewer capacity, again, once we get into the construction drawings of this project, we will start to really analyze the condition of the existing sewer to better understand capacity. I know that's often a city component as well, to assure that we do have that capacity with a will serve letter, some process like that. So if we move forward with CDs, we're definitely open to address that, and we'll be required to address that. The detention pond, it is positioned underneath the surface parking on the, the small leg here. The idea, again, from what I read earlier in the presentation, is that, there's outlet control structures on these underground detention ponds, and they do not increase post-development runoff. So basically, anything that is occurring now, we cannot increase that by law. And we're going to make sure that we design the system to not increase flows onto adjacent neighbors' properties, any more than they're already receiving. The property behind the greenway is still within our boundary, so a lot of our water will actually drain into that first, and that's going to stay undisturbed. It's going to continue to be the forest that it is now, mature trees, et cetera. So we will definitely look at that in a serious manner.
Mr. Kittle, if you could just speak into the microphone a little bit closer so that, make
Absolutely.
sure that people can hear you.
Definitely. As far as parking spaces, right now the current layout shows 248 spaces with the underground plus the surface. An apartment complex like this is meant to promote walkability, alternative transportation. It's positioned on the greenway, so we're really, hoping that residents utilize the components of the city and the Gwinnett, micro transit. I mean, that's a great opportunity for a project like this to utilize. So, our goal is to promote walkability here. The elevator access, there was a comment about just getting to access elevators without too much crowd, and in the design process, we're happy to look at what's more comfortable and a better layout for the residents. That's who this is for. So I think we're always considering the residents first and the community first. Comments on the lot line and the setback. We're following code requirements here. We're not asking for variance on the setback, so we do meet code. From the edge of Wisteria to the front of the building, currently it's, I believe, approximately 21 feet. So, that's incorporating the 10-foot sidewalk, the 8-foot landscape verge, and then some, kind of gap area between the sidewalk and the building. And then 3-bedroom apartments, those are definitely not the most marketable, but there will only be 5 in this complex. Majority will be 1- and 2-bedroom units. So it's really meant to, accommodate that clientele and folks that are looking for the 1- and 2-bedroom. Pedestrian safety, of course, that's always a big consideration of ours. So we talked about the pedestrian table, crossing and just any way we can enhance pedestrian safety. We're definitely going to look into doing that. Again, we're already increasing the sidewalk right now. I think it's a 3-foot sidewalk attached to Wisteria, and we want to pull that 8 feet off and, do a 10-foot sidewalk there to continue what the Groves started. And then, businesses at the bottom as part of the variance application, we did submit an exhibit that shows that within 1,000 feet, this project, I think is, it's over 75,000 square feet of existing retail. And there's more online for the whole corridor. So, it's really market driven, and we don't want to oversaturate. I mean, the last thing you want is a vacant retail space when you could have more residents utilizing the retail that is already here. So that was really the thought there. And I believe that, visibility, safety, cars pulling out of Hugh Drive. There's trees. That's a graphical illustration. We're always going to follow sightline requirements and make sure that you do have visibility when you're at an intersection. So we will do, our proper procedure there to make sure trees are set back enough to give people proper visibility. So I believe that's all, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kittle. I would like to make one comment that was brought up. Hugh Drive, we do actually have a concept drawing to connect Hugh Drive back to Eastgate, which is the, not the residential neighborhood. Eastgate is the road that has Pep Boys and Advanced Auto on 78. That's Eastgate. It dead ends into a cul-de-sac at the end of that street. But there's already a connection from that street over to the Snellville Oak Shopping Center that we refer to as still the old Walmart Shopping Center. We do have plans to make a connection of Hugh Drive back to Eastgate, and that would allow anyone from this side of the town center to be able to go down Hugh Drive and head over in that direction and actually get out onto Highway 78 at the existing light where the Auto Bell car wash was. So that is, we do have a plan. Of course, we're looking for money and we need some right of way. So if anybody wants to donate either of those things, I would be more than happy to discuss that with you. Any other, so I've closed the public hearing portion of the meeting, and I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve RZ 24-03 with the staff recommended conditions as listed in ordinance 2024-05 with one addition. This will include conditions 1 through 4. Adding condition 5, the applicant will provide a color palette for the structures to be submitted to the city planning director for approval.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve with the city planning department and planning commission recommended conditions. And, oh, sorry. Getting ahead of myself here. Okay, so the motion was for the rezoning, RZ 24-03, with approval. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second for RZ 24-03. Any council members, discussion or comments? No. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor, so none are opposed. Okay. And now, is there a motion for the SUP?
Motion to approve SUP 24-02.
There's a motion to approve SUP 24-02 with a second. Any comments or discussion by council? Then all in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor, so none are opposed. The application is approved. Wherever you went, Mr. Lou, get on. Not a problem. Okay, that, I think, ends our public hearing section of our meeting. I'll give everybody 2 or 3 minutes that want to exit.
Madam Mayor, can we take a point of personal privilege?
Certainly, we'll do a recess for 5 minutes. I'm going to call the meeting back in session. It's 10 o'clock. We passed the five-minute recess, so we're going to go ahead. We've got more business to conduct. We're not done yet. So now we will move to, we have nothing under the consent agenda, no old business. We have several items under new business. We have item A, second reading, ordinance 2024-07, consideration and action on approval of the ordinance for the amendment and restatement of the agreement of the Georgia Municipal Employees Benefit System Defined Retirement Plan. This is an update to our retirement plan documents. Every so often the IRS updates the language that is required in those documents, and this is what we're doing, is conforming with that. Is there a motion? Oh, Okay, yeah. Is there a
Motion to approve ordinance 2024-07 as read by the mayor.
There is a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Any comments by council? All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 5 in favor with none opposed. And I will announce too, Councilmember Schultz left. She just, as I said, she had knee surgery last week, and she was a champ to even be here for tonight. So she was hurting pretty bad, so she was headed home. We have item B, consideration and action on approval of resolution 2024-10, adoption of the 2024 millage rate. Right now, the current millage rate is proposed at 4 mills. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, make a motion that we adopt resolution 2024-10, adoption of the 2024 millage rate.
There is a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Any council member comments?
Oh, there is one thing. It keeps coming up. One of the issues that we're going to be dealing with this year going forward is there's a new homestead exemption that's coming into play thanks to one of our Gwinnett County legislators. So even though we didn't roll back the tax rate, most people probably aren't going to notice any difference because you're getting an increased homestead exemption.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Anyone else? All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution 2024-10. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 5 in favor with none opposed. Next, we have item C, consideration and action on resolution 2024-13, adoption of local amendment to plumbing code for water efficiency of water ordinance. As we discussed earlier, this was also up in the public hearing section. This is us agreeing to transmit to the state or whoever the authorizing agent, Georgia Department of Community Affairs, I have it listed right here, that we did update our development code to the Georgia State Minimum Standard Plumbing Code to regulate the toilet water levels. With that explanation, is there a motion?
Motion to adopt resolution 2024-13, adoption of local amendment to the plumbing code for water efficiency and water ordinance.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 5 in favor with none opposed. Next, we have item D, consideration and action on approval of addition to the tourism and trade event schedule. I know we didn't plan for this, but Ms. McAloon, would you mind giving a little explanation on what this is? No, maybe you should have gone home early too.
I'm just stiff. This is an addition for Latino Fest. We have a band, well, several artists that'll be playing on September 28th. The Latin Explosion. State Representative Ray Martinez had asked if we could extend and do a Latino Fest in Snellville. Thought it was a great idea. Presented it to Mayor and Council, and it's just kind of an addition to our event to have a Freedom Latino Fest on the 29th of September. So the concert will be a nice segue into that event.
Thank you. I appreciate that explanation. And why this is on our council agenda, since it would be a STAT co-sponsored event, is that we approved the STAT event contract or event schedule in our contract with the Experience Snellville each year. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the addition of Latino Fest for the Snellville Tourism and Trade event schedule.
There is a motion. Is there a second? Second. There's a motion and a second. Any comments by council? All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 5 in favor with none opposed. Then we have item E, first reading ordinance 2024-08, consideration and action on an ordinance to amend portions of Chapter 62 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Snellville to amend inconsistencies and allow change in fees by resolution, to repeal conflicting ordinances and for other purposes. Is there a motion?
Motion to waive the first reading on ordinance 2024-08 and to place it on the August 12th agenda for a second reading.
There's a motion to waive the first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 5 in favor with none opposed. That concludes our business portion of the meeting, so we will move to council reports, and we'll start with Councilmember Carter.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for sticking with us here. July 13th, I had an opportunity to visit my old friends at the Snellville Senior Advisory Board. Happy to inform you that they are well over 700 members at the present time. And they've added 2 handicap park spaces out here. Lots of events coming on. I hope you check out their website. A couple of things that stuck out is a November overnight trip to Athens to see Gladys Knight. And another overnight trip for Little Grand Canyon, and that's going to be October 29th and 30th. And while I'm thinking about it, before I go on, I'd like to thank, it's great to see former Mayor Jerry Oberholzer, who I consider a mentor, and he gave me a lot of advice as I began my run for City Council. Southeast Co-op, which most of you know that I took over from Dave Emanuel. Well, so far to date, since January 1, we have donated $611 and 2,166 pounds of pantry donations. That's a ton in anybody's book. Also, probably about 2 months ago, I mentioned to you that I had a little bit, the Ethics Commission were a little bit concerned about an oversight on my part. There was a concern voiced by Snellville's Catherine Hardrick, and I just want to inform everybody that that has been resolved, and it wasn't easy. You'll see me out in front of Ryan's tomorrow because that's vacant with a tin can and dancing and asking for your donations. I did have to pay a very hefty fine. So that concludes my report, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Councilmember Hetherington.
Good evening. Thank you for being here tonight and for sticking it out this late with us. We haven't had a meeting go this late in quite some time. We've got a couple exciting events coming up in Snellville. Later this week on Thursday at the Grove, we're going to have food trucks, King of Pops, and Snellville's own Samar Sabah will be singing and playing in the pavilion over at the Grove. So come on out for that, 6 to 9 Thursday evening. And then next Friday, August 2nd, is Food Truck Friday. Lots of food trucks over here on the green, praying for good weather and no rain. It's going to be another great event. Thanks for being here tonight, y'all.
Thank you, Carrie. Councilmember Linsky.
Thank you for coming out tonight. It's after 10 p.m. I do no reports after 10 p.m.
Thank you, Christie. Mayor Pro Tem Warner.
She thought that would make me feel bad, but it doesn't. I want to thank Kelly McLoon and the rest of the staff, or experienced Snellville staff, for a great event this last weekend. It looked like there was no way she was going to be able to pull that off. The rain gods were not on our side, but somehow the clouds parted and the music started, and we had a great time. And I just want to thank Kelly for putting on such a great event. I really enjoyed it. I even made a doctor's appointment and went to the doctor and came back in the middle of the concert. So y'all have a good night. Thank you very much for being interested in your city enough to come out and spend this time with us.
Thank you, Todd. And on just one note on the Thursday happenings at the Grove, check the city's website. We're not sure we have a food truck lined up for this Thursday or not. So if you're planning to come and eat, are you saying yes or? Oh, there will be food. Okay. Just had it confirmed. There will be food. So never mind. Okay. And again, as Mayor Pro Tem Warner said, thank you, Kelly, and everybody who set up and did the concert Saturday night. It was really a great event. Ray Howard Band is awesome. I don't care what music they're playing. They are just so good to come and listen to. I think my husband and I brought the rain down 78 with us, but luckily it didn't last all that long. With that, I will close the mayor's report and I will open the floor to public comment. If anyone would like to come forward, no more than 5 minutes on one topic, please. I'll go down this list first, and then anybody else is welcome. Mr. Oberholzer.
Thank you very much. Jerry Oberholzer, 1855 Penny Stone Way. I can tell you right now, I don't miss these late nights. I enjoy sitting in the tea.
We don't normally have them anymore.
The reason I come tonight is because of a code issue. I live at 1855 Penny Stone Way, and we back up to the Harbor Oaks Drive area. I've made 2 formal complaints against 1868 Harbor Oaks Drive, 1868. In February of last year and February this year, I sarcastically sent a text to Mayor Pro Tem Warner asking him how many cars you park in a backyard before you have to have a parking deck. And that was taken care of, but we've had debris in that backyard now for 5 years. I've submitted 2 code enforcement issues, have not heard a thing about it. And my concern is I haven't ever heard anything back. I get no whatsoever responses whatsoever. I'm never told if a citation's been issued and stuff. So I'm very concerned about that. As you know, I work for the city of Milton. I work in the community development department. And we have code folks over there, and I'll be honest with you, if I get a complaint about stormwater erosion, I've got 24 hours to respond back to that citizen, or else the city manager makes a call on my desk. So the turnaround is, I understand we're not Milton, we don't have that kind of money, they don't pay that well, but still, but it's just, to me, it's just responsiveness. I think what you've done with the downtown, the city center is great, but our neighborhoods are going to seed. I just invested over $35,000 to re-side my house and put new windows. 2 other folks on our street have done the same thing. We've made a commitment to Snellville. But when I have somebody that's right adjacent to me who has made no commitment, it's a rental property, they don't live here in the city. I mean, they've done stuff, we've complained, they were doing work. It's just, we need to be a little bit proactive with that. And I would ask you as the council to please look into that. I don't normally call the city manager or the mayor, so they don't want to hear from me anyway. But I would ask this evening that you do look into that. And I would like an email or a text to give me up to date. And one other side thing, if your judges aren't supporting your code people, then it's time to change your judges. It's really important to have a judicial system if somebody issues a citation, which I have it, to be supported by the prosecutor and also your judges when it comes to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Then we have Kevin, I think it's Cardinal. Is he still here? No. Wanda Cochran? Okay. Bobby Howard?
I got another plan. We're not going to do it tonight.
Okay. Sherry Allen, I think, spoke on the rezoning. Perry Edson?
Harry Edson, 1750 Glen Eden Court. In the planning meeting where the property was discussed over by the church, it was brought to my attention that the developer considers the commercial activities of Church on Main to be qualifying commercial activities under the town center ordinance, which frankly, if I may say so, and I said it then, it's ludicrous to consider that. The daycare is about the only thing that I know of that is general availability. The other activities going on at the church are there in support of the church activities. They don't happen during regular business hours. You're not going to walk there to the grocery store. You're not going to walk there to get dinner, that type of thing. I would suggest to the council that you strongly consider looking at that portion of the town center overlay ordinance and tightening that up some. I really wanted to ask the developer to look me in the eye and tell me that he would frequent those businesses and consider it commercial activity. I don't think it's incumbent on the city of Snellville to make a developer's proposal financially viable. If their inputs are wrong and if they're not getting the output that they want, they need to change their inputs. Taking the commercial requirement just out turns those into apartments. It's not the town center flats that so much work was put into. It's far enough away, unlike the other property that y'all were voting on the night that I spoke on. It's close enough, it's a 2-minute walk. You're not going to walk from that side of 78, cross 78 during rush hour, and then walk up the hill. You're just not going to do it. And so to me, that changes the whole, gosh, I'm grasping for a word and can't come up with it, but I think you know what I'm talking about. That changes the whole concept of what the town center overlay was about. There was a lot of time, a lot of money, and a huge amount of effort by many of the people sitting up here right now and people in the room behind me to come up with a viable plan to create a downtown for Snellville. I don't think anybody ever anticipated the activities of the church, either the Methodist church or I guess it's still a Baptist church, but Church on Main, to be considered under the commercial heading that was anticipated, or at least the way I interpreted it when all that was going. So that's my 3 minutes and 10 seconds on that. I would respectfully ask that y'all consider tightening that up. And I realize that because of the timing to do that, you won't be able to do that before the rezoning is heard again. So we may just take it in the back on that one, but let's learn from it and try to tighten up a little bit in the future, because I support the town center. I guess I'm one of the few, but I do support the town center and what it's doing. So that's my 2 cents. Anybody have any questions about what I was?
Nope. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I keep forgetting, we don't normally work from the list so much. Kat Hardrick?
Hello, 2280 Buckley Trail. I feel honored that I have a little bit to say, like what our former mayor just said about just following up. Snellville has a bunch of projects coming. Whether we like it or not, they're coming. And we want to make sure our city stays on the map. And I know growth is necessary, and I respect it. My concern is the buildings that are existing that are not keeping up with our codes. And when we make reports and we go to the quality of life courts, those people who are in violation of the code do not show up time and time again. So I take the time and I drive around my lovely city. I've been here 24 plus years, raised my kids here, and I love Snellville. I'm vested here. I don't plan on going anywhere, and quite frankly, I can't afford to leave if I wanted to leave, right? But I don't. And when you drive around and you see these buildings, these commercial buildings, these owners who are allowing their businesses to just not look the way that we want Snellville to look. They're becoming dilapidated. The paints are chipping off. I can't have my home like that. I value my home. I want my home to look beautiful. And when we have commercial buildings that are allowing it not to look beautiful, curbside appeal, they're not coming to quality of life court. I took my camera, I drove around, and I don't know the name of the greenery that grows. Whatever it is, it chokes the life out of our trees. And it's over there behind, what's it called? Thank you. I love our community. Somebody helped me last time. I love it. The kudzu, literally, while I'm videotaping, the tree snapped and I jumped. And this is, if you want to know where it is, I'll be happy to share with you where this is at. But if it did that just when I'm standing back there, what about our safety? What about the beauty of our community? It's literally hanging over the fence where the retention pond is. The lock is on the gate, but the gate is still wide enough for a child or someone who could have a mental health crisis wander off back there. So if we are doing all this new development, which it's here, can we please hold the existing businesses accountable for keeping up with their property? People who rent their property. I have neighbors who have said that their property next door or in their neighborhood was rented. Now it's vacant. And we all know that the squatter law allows squatters they have rights. Well, we would like to make sure people who own these properties and are renting them out are making sure that the grass is cut, that it is occupied, that it does not become a space for people to squat or a child to get in and someone can get hurt. So that's my biggest gripe that I have. I also know that I was able to speak to the transportation person who was here earlier, and I had a question about the future of Highway 78 and 124. And so I believe that we're going to have the roads expand from 3 lanes. How many on 124? It's going to be 6 lanes now. So that's coming down the pike. And I don't know if we ever talk about that in this space. I know that's something that has to do with Department of Transportation, but it's going to impact Snellville. So I would love to learn how are we going to navigate that as well. That's a huge undertaking that's coming in less than 5 years. He mentioned it was going to start like within 2. They're already designing it now. So how is this going to directly impact Snellville, and what are we trying to do to try to help ease the burden with some of our neighbors that are along that corridor? So it's going to be from 78 to Ronald Reagan, and then Ronald Reagan to Sugarloaf Parkway. We have a lot of neighbors right there from 78, and we already have that congestion. So I would love to know if we have a plan in place and if there's anything we can do to get our neighbors aware of that so we can just be prepared when it comes. So I thank you for your time and have a good night.
Thank you. And then I had John and Melissa Schellenberg, and then Micah Mulo. She had rezoning as well. She might have left. Okay. Okay, anyone else?
Tricia Rollins, 2088 Harbor Oaks Drive. Just want to bring a concern that I have. Snellville was built on old timers. We built a mercantile area where we could shop. We have people that are connected in the churches. Snellville has always been a friendly town with connected people. Last week, I got sent messages, text messages that from one of our department heads suggested that the people, if they don't like the progress of Snellville, that they leave. That's not anything that needs to be discussed on social media on a Friday night and getting the city upset. The city is already upset because y'all are leaving us behind. Things are not what we were told years ago with Tom Witz, and I understand things have changed, but we need to remember there are people out here that have built this city. We're concerned with our neighborhoods. We're concerned with the graffiti on the wall down on 78 that was discussed last year. Nothing's ever been done. We're tired of buildings being squeezed in between a racetrack and a Wendy's that can't be serviced unless you're blocking the road. You got sewage coming out of Wendy's draining down to racetrack. There are things out here in this city that need to be addressed. As Mr. Oberholster was saying, there's a lady on Pennystone that has a sinking drainage in her yard that she has communicated with the city that this is happening, but she's never heard anything back from them. And so she needs to have that addressed. And when somebody writes with a concern, that they get an answer and that their concerns are addressed. But for somebody on a city employee to come on social media and tell the city if they don't like the progress in this city that they need to up and find somewhere else to live. I've lived here 51 years, and I can't imagine somebody telling me, you know, take your cemetery lot and go somewhere else. It's very cruel. And this city is waking up, and you need to remember that there are people out here in the public that have built this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn tonight's session.
I was about to say, don't everybody rush at once. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 5 in favor with none opposed. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We appreciate your care and concern for the community.